You are Locked On Heat Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Heat fans? Welcome to your Heat Postcast. My name is Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease at @JimGrease_ on social media. GRIES, as the Heat conclude a West Coast road trip, the 3-3 West Coast trip. It was a 6-game trip. It's in the books now as Miami falls to the Lakers in LA 117-108. Unfortunately for the Heat, it's NBA basketball and you play two halves. And that was the problem tonight because in the first half they were great, shooting over 60% for 22 to 24 minutes, and then they went cold. Last couple of minutes, the first half went cold, carried over to the second half. Boom, there's your ball game. There's your ball game. I could condense it into a 1-minute show tonight. I mean, you shot great in the first half. You turned the ball over the whole game. Didn't shoot so great in the second half, and it caught up with you. And that's what happened to Miami on the road tonight. As they wrap up the road trip, they lose the 2 games in LA, also dropped one to Sacramento in the road trip opener. And, of course, you had the wins in between against the terrible teams that they played on the trip. You know what I mean? So just not the best road trip for Miami. And you know, I mean, it started off pretty well. The Kings game, you had a big lead early. And into the second half, you ran out of gas in that game, lose in double OT on the road. But remember, before that, you got smoked by the Pacers, smoked by the Jazz at home. All right, so you beat the Warriors, the Jazz, and the Trailblazers, probably the 3 worst teams in the league right now. And yeah, congratulations on that. But you have a team that's coming together, that's gelling, and there's a lot of things to look to right now. The Heat culture, they're not going to get anywhere what they could have gotten for Jimmy Butler before. They're not going to get a lot for Jimmy Butler, period. If you're expecting a grade 1, a tier 1 player back in return for Jimmy Butler, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get him. It's not going to happen. Hate to burst your bubble. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just, it never does when you trade away stars. You get even the draft picks aren't as good. I don't know. It's a stalemate. And I don't know if it's going to be checkmate for Miami, but the younger players they're developing now and the way that this team's coming together, I feel like it's, it's about development right now for Miami. And Butler at his age, at 35, he doesn't really fit with that anyway. He wants out. Now I'm sure they want him out, even though they haven't said it publicly, but it is what it is, and you don't have Jimmy again, but he will be eligible to return when you get home on Friday against Denver. More on that in a minute. But yeah, the Heat dropped this one tonight, 117-108, 3-3 West Coast road trip. The second half struggles continue. They're throwing the ball all over the place, careless, reckless with the basketball, turnovers all the time, and just got sloppy in that second half. But man, that's the thing. They look so good in the first half. Look so unbelievably good. All right, tonight's show, Heat Postcast. Man, excited. It's free wherever you are, right? On YouTube here, Locked On Sports Miami. And then wherever you get your podcasts, free there too. But your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. For example, Locked On Heat. And one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter. There you have it. All right. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. And, not a ton to say about this one, to be honest with you. Just as another example of Miami running out of gas in the second half. I mean, they're throwing the ball all over the yard with the turnovers. They waste another brilliant performance from Tyler Hero. He goes for 34, but, not many of those in the fourth quarter. I mean, what did Tyler have at halftime? He had 22 points at halftime, and he's not scoring. Look, they started doubling him, and he stopped scoring, and Bam's not helping him at all. There's your other star, and I put it in air quotes not to mock him. I put it in air quotes because he's not doing star-like things right now. He's just not. And I might get heat for saying that. I might get flack for saying that. But Bam Adebayo is not giving you what he should be giving you offensively for sure. I mean, 3 for 7. 3 for 7 is all you're going to get from Bam. He got 10 points, got to the line a little bit. But when you're playing against Anthony Davis, you know what I mean? And Anthony Davis had himself a decent game. 22 points and 11 rebounds. Bam's always good defensively there. LeBron had 22 with 9 assists they gave him. Almost the double-double. And 5 rebounds, 23 points for Rui Hachimura as the Lakers had 6 in double figures. But, Miami had this game in their grasp. It's another example of a poor second half shooting, but they compound it with turnovers. They compound it with recklessness. They compound it with committing bad fouls. And, the Heat end up losing this game. But you have to give the Lakers credit, too. LeBron took over in the third quarter offensively, started scoring a little bit more, facilitating, distributing, led to some dunks, some open threes for Max Christie and Hachimura in particular. Those guys had good games, and Anthony Davis as well. But Tyler's at it alone, man. Look, they started doubling him. He was getting tired down the stretch, missed a lot of shots toward the end of the game, and just didn't have any help. Highsmith chipped in with 12. Bam only had 10. Jaquez with 11. Jovic with 12 and 8 assists. He's putting together a nice season. But, man, where is – and 8 points, 11 rebounds for Khalil Ware. Where is Terry Rozier? I have to call him out. I mean, this guy averaged 24 points a game for Charlotte a couple of years ago, and you trade for him. And this is what you get, right? You bring him in, and, he had 6 points tonight, 3 of 7 shooting, been terrible from beyond the arc lately. He's 0 for 3 tonight. And, this is not the Terry Rozier that we've seen over the years. It's just not, in Boston and then in Charlotte and now here. It's unfortunate because the kid has a lot of talent. He has a lot of talent, but we're not seeing it right now for whatever reason. And usually players like him thrive in the Heat system. He's just not shooting the ball well, because if he's hitting his threes along with Duncan and Tyler, you know what I mean? Like, you got Jaquez hitting a couple of them a game now, keeping the defense is honest. You got Jovic hitting a couple a game now, and he's got tremendous size and growing into that body, and the all-around game is fantastic for Nikola. And then, of course, you have Burks, who's, look, the guy's a journeyman, but he had 8 points tonight. He's playing well. So, you had Kevin Love and Jimmy Butler not playing tonight. Love is a coach's decision. His career is pretty much over as a player. And, obviously Jimmy with the suspension. So you're undermanned anyway. And you're carrying a guy like Kevin Love who doesn't play a lot of the time. And it's kind of like when you had UD. It's having a coach on the team, on the bench during the games, but he's not contributing on the court. But when he plays, he is. And no, we don't know what's going on in practice. We don't know how much he sells out there. And sometimes players are worth their value 100 times over just for what they do in practice against the first team and help them get ready for games and things like that. So that always helps out, but they just don't have any assistance right now. They don't have anything going right now. They really don't. And it's offensively, if they go cold, they're done. That's what Jimmy takes away from them when he's not there. When you lose Jimmy Butler, Bam will get to the line. Tyler will get to the line some. But Jimmy is so great at getting opposing teams' front lines in foul trouble, so great at drawing fouls, getting guys out of the game with 2 in the first quarter or 3 before the end of the half or what have you, 4 even, end of the third quarter, they get their 5th. Jimmy's great at that sort of thing, getting you into the bonus quicker every quarter so you're at the line more, getting some free opportunities for points, and you shot so poorly in the second half tonight and you turned the ball over so badly so many times that, the Lakers ended up with way more field goal attempts than you did. What did it end up being? They were pointing it out a bunch of times during the show. The Heat shot 73 and they shot 17 more shots than Miami did. And 2 more threes by Miami. So within that, Miami's chucking and ducking 44.4% from 3 tonight. But, the Lakers 13 of 34, that didn't really end up being much of a factor, although they had the lead at halftime. They were playing really well. It was 66-54 at halftime. They were outscored in the second half by a huge number. I had it written down. I'm trying to find it here. It was 63-42, plus 21 for the Lakers in the second half. They were 4.5-point favorites. The total in this game was coming in at 215.5. And so obviously you go over on that, and the Lakers came through with the dub for you. But it's just a shame when you see Miami's offense looking so good in that first half, the ball movement, incredible. They stagnated in the second half. They stagnated. And when your offense stagnates, you're not moving, you're not making that extra pass, you're not getting to the line. Lakers defense had a lot to do with it. Give them credit. They turned it up. Even in the fourth quarter, if you saw the Lakers game on Monday against San Antonio, they were god-awful in the fourth quarter. Shooting, defense, effort wasn't there. And, keep in mind this week, with the fires in LA and everything, it's a crazy place to be right now. You feel like you're living in a real life Armageddon if you're out in LA. I have friends who are out there, and talking to them, it's actually quite horrifying when you think about it. But, when you're thinking about basketball by comparison to all those homes being burned down, it's hard to even think about basketball. So the Lakers, obviously the other night, sluggish in the second half and in the fourth quarter, and tonight much better there in front of the home crowd. And, against San Antonio on Monday, they just weren't. So a lot of things working against the Heat tonight, a lot of things self-inflicted. Obviously, this team is short-staffed, undermanned, out of energy by the end of this road trip. They go 3-3, and you could just see it in the second half. They're anxious to get home. But I will pick it up on the other side about Bam Adebayo. He missed last game with an injury, was day-to-day, came back tonight. But injury, schminjury, Bam has not been what he needs to be offensively for this team. And they can say all they want that his role is not necessarily to score a ton of points. He's battling in there against the trees night in and night out and holding his own, the rebounds and the defense. I get it. But if this team is going to go anywhere as constructed, Bam's got to score 20 a game. And if he doesn't, they're toast. And he's not. And I don't know if he can. We'll pick up on that on the other side. It's your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Grease. We got it like that. You know what I'm saying? GRIES at Jim Grease _ on social media. And I will tell you what, we have another great offer from another one of our incredible sponsors coming your way right now. And then more Heat Talk on the Postcast right after this. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I don't know about you, but I just don't have the time, right? Between work, life, trying to eat healthier, always, right? I was constantly feeling stressed out. Go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook. Raise your hand if this has happened to you. Sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too, because you know how it is when you're eating on the go. It's not always easy. But everything changed when I discovered Hungryroot. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like having a personal shopper. See, we hook you up with everything here. A personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my tastes and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. Yeah, you didn't know about that, did you? And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less, right? I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. Ease, right? We always want that. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as I do, no doubt about it. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. And you can take advantage of it too. That is hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA like you always do. Hungryroot.com LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box with the code LockedOnNBA and a free item of your choice for life. Hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Do not miss out. I mean, because on the real, all we can do is school you, put you up on game. All I can do is tell you about it, right? Doesn't mean you're going to do it. Doesn't mean you're going to do it, but you should. I know you will. I got faith in you, but we're always giving you great, great offers and deals from all of our sponsors here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we have some of the biggest and best companies in the world lined up with us right here. There's no doubt about that. There's no debate, no nothing over that. And that is exactly, that was nice English. No, nothing. There's that University of Miami degree coming back into play. But man, oh man, the Miami Heat tonight in the first half. What a tale of two halves. We talked about this. You know, we have talked about this a lot. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. And by the way, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell so you're alerted when we have more content coming your way. And of course, right here in the chat, you can have your voice heard. I'll talk about it on the show if it's something relevant and good. You know, you guys have been dropping some knowledge on here. It's a West Coast trip. It's late. It's after 1 in the morning. Isn't it after 1 in the morning, or it's close to it? What is it? Anyway, I can't tell what time it is right now. It's there it is, right? It's 12:53, right there, right there toward 1 in the morning. But you know, West Coast swing is over. They beat the Dubs, they beat the Blazers, they beat the Jazz to avenge their last home loss. And then, of course, you lose to the Kings, Clippers, and Lakers, and that's probably the way most people would have picked this trip anyway. 3-3. Those. If I told you they were going 3-3 on this trip, every single person would say you lost to the Lakers, Clippers, and who was the third one? Sacramento. Probably be the guesses of pretty much everybody, right? Utah, Portland, not playing well at all, not good teams at all this year, for that matter. And then, of course, you had the Sacramento Kings, who have underachieved all along. And then the other team they beat on the road trip, which was Utah, Portland, and Golden State. And Golden State started like 8-1, something like that, 8-2. but they're like 10-17 or something since that. So it's been a rough go for Steph and company and Steve Kerr, who lost his childhood home in the Palisades fire. Imagine that. You grow up there. You already lost your dad to an explosion in Beirut when you're like 13, 14 years old. You had a tragic childhood there. And now his childhood home's gone. You know, and JJ Redick, the Lakers coach, his home burned down. So think about that. That's two of the most prominent coaches in the NBA who had their homes burned down in that fire. Now imagine all the other people that have been through that, all the other people, what they're going through right now. It's just terrible. So, you know, it's nice to be able to have a job like the NBA, to be a coach or a player, to get away from all that. And, you know, it's a getaway. But for Miami, and imagine flying into LA and seeing all that. And, you know, it's crazy. This is the number 2 market. A lot of people think it's the greatest city in the world, and, you know, just to see that happening. But Miami was able to get the 2 games in, and now they shoot home. But the Clippers and the Lakers maybe had a little extra motivation. The Clippers definitely felt like they did Monday when they were the first game back, them and the Rams in the playoff game. But the Rams and Vikings played in Arizona, right? They moved over there as the Clippers and Heat played in California. So it is a little bit interesting. And they played in the arena that's right across from the stadium where the football game would have been. But the NFL had to have an answer, drop dead time, and they couldn't risk not getting the game in. So they moved it, and that's how it worked out because, you know, those fires. And, yeah, it's crazy. They had to make a choice, and they had to move forward with it one way or another. By the way, the Clippers are red hot right now. They got 124 points going with about 2 minutes left against the Nets. So you caught them at a tough time. And I know Steph and the Dubs did something special tonight. Steph with a big night at Minnesota. 116-115, but he hit a corner 3 to give him the late lead, and that's how the game ended up. Good job by Steph Curry, as always. Great player, Stephen Curry. One of the absolute legends of our game. Changed the game in so many ways. So, hey, if you guys have anything to add in the chat, love to talk to you, love to read that on the show. We talked about before the break Bam Adebayo and his offensive struggles, and I don't know how else to characterize him. He can't shoot. I mean, he'll shoot a 3 here and there, make a 3 here and there. He shot 3 tonight. But Bam just is not a great offensive player. And I think we've seen without Jimmy there. Remember, I talked about this so many times when Bam would flash up top, right, get the ball. Bam's at the top of the key, right about just inside the three-point line, maybe between the circles there, between the three-point line and the free throw line, right? And he gets the ball in that position. Well, what happens? You've got 2 cutters, one from each side, flashing out to the three-point line. 1 or 2 is an option. You have another player cutting to the basket and another one coming to set a screen up top. And that doesn't happen right without Jimmy, because Jimmy doesn't roll to the hoop and draw those fouls. When Jimmy's the one rolling and cutting and flashing, that is a big difference between what they have with Jimmy and what they have now. So when Jimmy's that guy and he's doing those things, he's disrupting defense. He's getting everybody in foul trouble, as I mentioned. And then, you know, also if Bam hits one of those streakers or cutters, right, then they have the option of hitting an open shooter off that pass, right? So it just keeps the offense flowing through the lane a lot more when Jimmy Butler's on the floor. I don't know how else to say it. They get to the basket a lot more. It does create more room for Bam down low because Jimmy loves to operate in that 8-foot in area within 8 to 10 feet of the basket. He loves to operate down there, old school in that regard, Jimmy is. So when I think about Jimmy Butler's absence and how it affects this team, I think the hardest hit guy is Bam. And Bam came out, and I think it was yesterday, it might have been this morning, shoot around or whatever, and he said, hey, and then this is me paraphrasing, I believe what we have in this locker room is good enough without Jimmy Butler, is pretty much what he said. And then he goes out and shoots 3 for 7 and has 10 points against the Lakers. And Anthony Davis didn't even look like he was engaged, which is a big problem of mine with Anthony Davis. He's like my 15-year-old when I ask him to do chores, except he plays games like that. And he's so damn talented that he gets away with it. But, you know, you just wish that for gazillions of dollars these guys get paid, that they would at least just give you 100% effort every night. Give me the same effort you'd give at the park in a pickup game. You're serious about your hoops, aren't you? And that's one thing you never have to question with Bam and with the Heat. You can never question Bam's work ethic, the work that he does, how hard that he works, how much he works on his game day in and day out, night in and night out, all the time. But if you're not a good offensive player, you're not a good offensive player. And Bam is not a good offensive player. He's not. He's not a good offensive player. Just not. He was thriving a little bit before Jimmy went out. Jimmy did a lot for Bam in that regard. And coming off this road trip, I'd love to say that Jimmy Butler holds all the cards now and maybe he'll get that extension and things can go back to quote unquote normal. But there's no way Pat Riley's backing down. You ever see Pat Riley back down from anything, from the days of fighting kids on the playgrounds of Schenectady, New York, to the NBA, being the guy backing up and in many ways protecting Jerry West and never afraid to throw down? Wanted to fight Shaq in practice one day when Shaq was with the Heat. Riley's not backing down from Jimmy. They have to learn how to play better without him. And then you start thinking about trades and who they could bring in. You hear names like DeMar DeRozan and Bradley Beal. Would you rather have DeMar DeRozan or Bradley Beal over Jimmy Butler? Of course not. I'll answer that for you. And they play the same position Tyler does, which means maybe Tyler's part of a deal. They've been trying to trade him for years anyway, and nobody was taking him. So maybe they add Tyler into this deal, and you send Jimmy and Tyler packing, and who knows what you get back for that. Now, nothing against Tyler. I don't know. Maybe you put something in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. But the guy's been a scoring machine on this trip. He had 34 more tonight, but he needs some help. And we talked about how Bam's not giving it to him, and a lot of that's because Jimmy Butler's out. Well, what do you do with Jimmy Butler now? What do? You have to hope professionalism kicks in. Being a baby pouting in the corner only works for so long, and the Heat matched that energy. Oh, yeah? You're going to say this? You're going to talk about us like that in your press conference? Oh, all right. Well, you're not having fun playing basketball then? Yeah, you're suspended. Riley's not backing down. The Heat aren't backing down. But when it comes to what you might get back for Jimmy Butler, and check out Locked On Heat, the podcast, day in and day out. You everydayers know. You better tell somebody. Locked On Heat podcast. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. It's the Heat Postcast. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, wrapping it up right after I tell you about another great deal from another one of our amazing sponsors. And this one is called WayFair. Oh, baby. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering, refreshing my space, helps me get back in a routine. You should see my closet. I have to declutter that space right now, as a matter of fact. Whether you are tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. And if you're still on your resolutions, National Quitters Day is the 10th. Congratulations. You beat 99% of these bums out here who quit within a week and a half. And yes, I did say bums, because that's what you are if you quit in 10 days. So whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. That's the best part. I'm looking for furniture right now. Their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces. You know what I mean? It really does. That fit my style and my budget. I love the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate. I found everything I needed in no time. What can I tell you other than to give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair? Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR, wayfair.com. Wayfair, get it? Wayfair, every style, every home. All right. One more time for your mind. Your Locked On Heat podcast has a newsletter. It's free. It's in your inbox every day. What else do I have to tell you? It's one stop for Ultimate Team and League coverage, and it's, again, right to your inbox. Free at LockedOnDaily.com. You sign up there. It's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Heat newsletter, just like I do, right? And tomorrow that newsletter will say the Heat stank in the second half. Stunk, stank, stonk, whatever you want to call it. You can put any letter in there you want, and it would fit after what I just saw. And think about it, man. 24 minutes of I mean, look at what they scored in the second half, right? 63-42. You average 21 points a quarter after halftime, and that's after another 60-point first half. Miami has 3 60-point first halves in their last 5 games. Let me say that again. They've scored 60 points or more in the first half in 3 of their last 5 games. So they've been on fire. And fuego, Heat Nation. Just shooting so well down there and out there from beyond the arc. But definitely a tale of 2 halves. Hachimura had a good game, and Anthony Davis, LeBron James as well. 23 for Hachimura, 22 for AD, 22 for LeBron as well. In fact, let's take a look at the box real quick, shall we? Because we still have your player of the game, star of the game. We still have your turning point and your final score graphics. So taking a look at the box for Miami, Haywood Highsmith started, had 12 points on 5 of 10 shooting, 2 of 4 from downtown for Haywood. Bam Adebayo, I've mentioned it, 3 for 7 from the floor. Yeah, 4 rebounds and no, 10 points. Come on, Bam. Not going to happen. 31 minutes. Tyler Hero, 34 points, 7 of 12 from beyond the arc. He was at one point in the game. He shot 12 for 18. He made his first 7 shots of the night. And you can talk about that all you want, but you got to keep that consistency throughout the game. Terry Rozier, the invisible man out there. 24 minutes, 3 for 7, 0 for 3 from 3 at 8 points. Jaquez Jr., 11 points and 5 assists, looking good out there. You look at Jovic, another good game for him, 12, 8, and 4 in 32 minutes. 8 points and 9 rebounds for Kel'el Ware on 4 of 7 shooting. 8 points, 3 of 3, and 2 of 2 beyond the arc for Alec Burks. And then the Dunkmeister, Duncan Robinson, 2 for 7, 0 for 4 from beyond the arc, and 7 points in this game. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, Anthony Davis, 22 and 11, Hachimura, 23, LeBron, 22, 6 guys in double figures. LeBron weaving his magic in the second half, assist after assist, scoring. He pisses you off if you're a basketball purist because he will give up the open layup to pass it out to a three-point shooter. Does it all the time. He will pull up and take a charge rather than try to play defense, strip the ball, go for a block. Oh, no, let me just flop. And that's a big problem I have with today's NBA. LeBron flopping, and people calling him a GOAT. A GOAT doesn't flop. A GOAT doesn't flop. I mean, period, end of story. I have a million reasons why Jordan's the GOAT. I mean, how about that? A GOAT doesn't flop. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It really is ridiculous when you think about it. But there's no denying his skill. There's no denying his brilliance. There's no denying his greatness and his longevity. Unbelievable. Without a doubt, the best career in the history of basketball. Without a doubt. He's not the greatest player of all time, but the best career? I don't know. Jordan won 6 rings in a shorter time, and it's just, you could argue about it all day long. But to say that LeBron's not great is absurd. He pisses me off when I watch him a lot. He does. I mean, did you see the play I'm talking about? Bam just driving from the free throw line rather than try to play D. LeBron's like, just make sure you don't hurt me. You know what I mean? I mean, what would they have done with that in the 80s and the 90s? Can you imagine the 90s Knicks with LeBron having to take it to the hoop on those guys? Mason and Ewing and Larry Johnson and Charles Smith and all them dudes would have thrown his ass in the 5th row. All right, let's take a look real quick at the team stats and just see what stands out. I think I told you the turnovers were a huge deal. Miami shot 44.4% from 3, 53.4 overall. Real good shooting game. Cooled down a lot. Starting the last 2 minutes of the second half, did not shoot well at all. In the second half, had average of 21 points a quarter in the second half, and just not going to get it done. The free throws were 14 of 15 for Miami. Good job there. 10 of 14 for the Lakers. Rebounds, Heat won by 3, 37-34. Assists, the Lakers had 8 more. Steals, they had 12, and the Heat only had 3. And when you're not getting steals and wreaking havoc and getting those transition points, what the Lakers did. And again, remember, I told you the Lakers took 19 more shots than Miami tonight. That's that defense. That's that turnover-prone play from Miami on offense leading to easy buckets for the opposition. They had 23 points off those turnovers, 60-36 points in the paint. Heat usually get worked here, but this was worse than normal. And, of course, the Lakers, man, oh man, they were favored by 4.5, and the over-under was 215.5 tonight. And just a bad one in the second half for Miami. You got to win these games. You got to win these games. You had a big lead. You had a double-digit lead in the third quarter. You got to win these games. You got to win. You got to win. You can't be getting blown out at home by the Jazz. Understandably, that was Jimmy's first game suspended, but it's hard. You lose not only a guy who's a big-time leader on that team, you lose a superstar player, although he's aging. You lose a lot when you lose Jimmy, but you lose a guy who knows what to do when things get tough out there. You lose a guy who's going to get the bigs in foul trouble, who's going to get you into bonus earlier, and all sorts of things like that happen when you lose a guy like Jimmy Butler. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button if you would. Please hit that bell so you know when we come your way with more content, and then right here in the chat as well with it. But you know what time it is. You know what time it is, guys, and I love this. So this is one of my favorite parts of the show. These graphics actually change the game. We're going to be doing a lot more with these postcasts as time goes by. The shows are going to be getting better and better. But first things first, here is the final score. 117-108. They lose by 9. Lakers with the win and the cover. You see Hachimura there slamming it. And a lot of big-time plays at the rim for the Lakers. They're an athletic team, man. They have shooters all over the floor. I don't know why they're not better, actually, to tell you the truth. I don't know why they're not better than their record would indicate. They're at 21-17, Miami at 20-19. So your final score, 117-108. Look at James and Davis there watching their boy. All right, the moment it's the minute they came out of or maybe the minute they left the floor to end the first half. 63-42 outscored in the second half. Look at Jaquez like, oh crap, I gotta guard LeBron. But it is what it is. LeBron started taking over, hit a couple shots, then really started finding his guys. Playing through him, Christie got some threes and a couple dunks in there for Hachimura. Just easy shot opportunities for his teammates. And what amazes me at 40 years old with LeBron James is that his first step is, after that, he hasn't lost. A lot of times they say you don't lose the first step. You lose the steps after that. He hasn't. But he's blown by everybody. He's blowing by guys that were 20 years younger than him. He's going right by them like they're not even there. He's that fast still. What we're seeing is incredible. What we're seeing is it's surreal from LeBron James. It's incredible. So outscored by 21 in the second half, and that's what they averaged, points scored per quarter in that half. Remember Miami with the 60-point first half again and another, you're thinking, wow, but they ran out of gas in the second half. And you're looking at that and you're just going, yeah, it happens. But man, it's rough to see it over and over again. And it's going to keep happening. And only you're a man short too without Jimmy. There's that. They had 38 points in the first half, 28 in the second, 19 in the third, 23 in the fourth. It's just not going to get it done. The Lakers had 34, 20, 29, and 34. Lakers played really well, except for the second quarter. But it really was Miami's shooting. Unconscious from beyond the arc. And, you're not going to continue that. It's eventually going to catch up to you when you play the percentages. And one more thing. I know, the star of the game, the star of our show. And look, the Lakers had 6 guys in double figures. LeBron, 22 and 11. AD, 22 and 11 rebounds. LeBron's were 11 assists. Hachimura, 23. But the star of the game, the first 3 quarters anyway. Look at that shot right there. Bang, right down the middle with Christie right in his face. And that was Tyler in the first half. Just stroking those threes in. And he did a great job tonight. Did a great job, but they started doubling him in the second half, getting the ball out of his hands, and, his teammates weren't there for him tonight. His teammates weren't there. Nobody could be counted on as a second option in the second half, and when they're doing everything they can to get Tyler to give the ball up 25 feet from the hoop, and when he's shooting contested threes or threes from 25, 27, 30 feet out, you know what I mean? You love that if you're the opposition. If you're the opponent, you'll take that every game. You'll take that every game, and you'll give the Heat a 10-point lead at halftime every game. And it just ended up being one of those things. That's Tyler behind. Look at that. Oh, locked and loaded all night long. Look, that's a beautiful shot, too, at the peak of his jump right there. And we're having a great time here. It's your Heat Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, and unfortunately for the Heat tonight, they just fell apart in the second half. Couldn't maintain it against the Lakers. 117-108 was the final in this game. And there it is one more time for you. 117-108. And what a nice dunk to show you there, too, on the way out the door. That's all there is, Heat fans. There is no more. A 9-point L in La La Land tonight to the Lakers. They get swept in Los Angeles. They finish the trip 3-3, heading home for Denver on Friday at Kaseya Center and see if they can get that home cooking going. What's going to happen with Jimmy Butler? Watch Locked On Heat or listen to it wherever you get your podcast every day with those guys. They do a tremendous job, and we will check that out as well because I'm watching. I'll be watching right there with you. And it's what we got right now, Miami. It's what we got. It's the hoops, and that's all we got. And thank you, Dolphins and Kings, for that. Anyway, there's next season. But what I will tell you is this Miami Heat team is forging an identity. This Miami Heat team is coming together. I really can't wait to see what happens with the Butler saga so this team can just move on and we can start to see where they might fall in that Eastern Conference as the season wears on. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Heat fans. We're out.